lesson 35. This lesson is the follow-up to lesson 34 on bishop g4, bishop g5 pins and their interplay with such rook pawn moves as h3 and h6. Now in the previous lesson we started exploring this theme mostly from a tactical point of view. In this lesson we will be looking at the strategic side of the theme. Again, I will be discussing a number of positions with you, and along the way we will ask you to participate and answer questions for yourself, as you are probably used to by now. Okay, let's get started. From the opening we play the moves e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6. We have a classical French, and now white plays bishop g5, pinning the knight. Why, I ask you, is white pinning the knight? Can the pin, for instance, not easily be defended with bishop e7? Pause the video, I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, there are two reasons why white is pinning the knight. The first reason is a tactical reason. White is now threatening to take the knight on f6, which in turn is a defender of the d5 pawn. Now let's suppose black plays a nothing move, a nil move, such as a6 for instance. Then there could follow bishop takes f6, and if black wants to maintain the integrity of his pawn structure with queen f6, then he loses the pawn on d5. Now there still is a double attack on king and knight, but the knight saves itself by playing knight e3 and simultaneously blocks the check. So in this position white would have won a good healthy pawn. So this is white's first idea. This first idea, however, after the pin can quite easily be parried with bishop e7. But now it turns out that white has a second idea, and this is the deeper idea. It's strategic in nature. He now plays e5, kicks back the knight, and now is able to exchange dark squared bishops. Now why would white like to exchange dark squared bishops? Well, in this position, if we go back, let's say, one whole move, white's dark squared bishop is his so-called technically bad bishop, because it is moving on the same color as his central pawns. So the bishop could be hindered actually in its mobility and in its view of the enemy position by those two central pawns. So he would like to get rid of this bishop, but also simultaneously get rid of black's technically good bishop, because black's bishop on e7 complements his central pawn structure. So his central pawn structure is not in the way of his dark squared bishop. However, if both bishops get exchanged, then white is left with his technically good bishop, which is not hindered by his central pawns on the dark squares, and black, on the other hand, is left with his technically bad bishop, because this bishop on c8 is on the light squares and will be hindered sooner or later by black's pawns in the center. So here we saw a strategic reason for pinning a knight. The reason being that you want to exchange the defending bishop, in this case the dark squared bishop. Okay, let's go on to the next position. From the opening we play d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, and again bishop g5. Very similar to the previous position. Now why is white pinning the knight? Can it not be easily defended? Well, the answer is similar. No matter what defensive setup black chooses, white wants to exchange dark squared bishops. Now in the process he is again threatening bishop takes f6, which would eliminate the knight as a defender of the d5 pawn. And then, as in the previous example, if black does not want to lose the integrity of his pawn structure, he would have to recapture with his queen, but he would again have to let go of the defense of the d5 pawn, and white would again be able to win there. So, black's